started to think about it, I realized that I didn't need, folks, to have the actual lion jump out and attack and devour me, did I? No, because the lion was jumping out at me every single day in my mind. Fear thoughts produce, after their kind, what? More and more fear thoughts. We live the actual or imagined fearful experience over and over and over again until it becomes our daily reality. You know, if you just look at the news programs on TV, right? I mean, what a better source of fear stories, of imagined fear for us. Actual things that happen to other people, but what effect do they have on you and me? When we hear about them, oh, I wonder what would happen if that occurred in my life. So they're stories filled and overflowing with stories and events based in fear. So if I consume enough of that news, what happens is that I create this image, this imagery of a dangerous world filled with terror and despair. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, tells us in his book, Teach Us to Pray, the mind imagines mountains of fears where no real cause for fear exists. When we look back over the past, we find that most of our fears were groundless, and most of the things we dreaded so much never happened. He goes on, all fears rest upon thoughts, and if the thought foundation can be broken up, the fear will vanish. So isn't that good news? And that's what I want to do with you today. I want to give you 3 ways to break up that thought foundation so that the fears will vanish. You want that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the first way is to turn and face the fear. That's what I did that day on the porch, when out of desperation I truly faced my fears. I looked that fear in the face and realized that there was nothing there but what? Fear itself. You know the great saying from Franklin B. Roosevelt, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. You know, there's this wonderful scene in The Wizard of Oz. How many of you have not seen The Wizard of Oz? I know there's actually a couple people. So, you know, just try to stick with us. All right? But there's this one, it's such a metaphysical movie. I really encourage you to watch it. So in this scene, this is a scene where Dorothy, the Scarecrow, and the Tin Man are skipping down the yellow brick road. And they come to that dark and creepy forest. Remember? And they start to sing a song. Does anybody remember the song? Thank you. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. I need that, right, in my life. The only thing I haven't gotten yet is a tiger. So I need to be singing. Maybe I shouldn't be singing that. I'm not going to sing that. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. So they're singing this until, of course, suddenly the very thing they fear, right, is upon them. The lion comes growling and snarling out of the forest. And if memory serves me, the lion spends some time bullying the Scarecrow and then some time bullying the Tin Man until he spots the little dog, Toto. And he starts to chase Toto, and Dorothy runs over and scoops Toto up in her arms, and she turns and she faces the lion. Now hear this, she turns and she faces what? Her fear. She faces the lion and she slaps him very sharply on the nose, scolding him, shame on you. And with that slap, in those words, what does the lion do? He begins to cry. And Dorothy says, why? You're nothing but a great big coward. And the lion says, you're right, I am a coward. I haven't any courage at all. I even scare myself. You know, it's a wonderful example of facing your fear and finding out that there's nothing to fear but fear itself. We all need to learn how to turn and face our fears. Now the second practice of overcoming fear, and this is also very successful. It's my favorite one. It's LOL. It's the use of humor. Now this might sound almost, sacrilegious to speak of humor at a time when so many people truly, truly suffer, right? From fear, suffer from anxiety. But it's only through our ability, folks, to reclaim our joy, our laughter, our happiness that we can truly overcome our despair. Overcome our fears. Charles Fillmore speaks of it in his book, Jesus Christ Heals, when he says, there are various methods of erasing fear from the mind and preventing its congestion in the body. He goes on and says, one of the most direct and effective scatterers of fear is laughter. Laugh your fears away. I can't tell you how much time I spent laughing about that mountain lying in the driveway, and how much time I've spent laughing with my neighbors about the bear in the neighborhood, and laughing LOL on Facebook. It's so important to be able to laugh at ourselves. You might have noticed in some of my posts I wrote, I am so spooked. I'm feeling a little scared, but then I followed it with LOL. Who do you think I'm doing the benefit? Who is that benefiting? Who am I doing that to benefit? It's for me. Get over yourself, BJ. Laugh at our fears. To bring humor, joy, and happiness into the situation. We have to be able to laugh out loud sometimes. Yet what of those fears, I know some of you are thinking out there, my serious true students, what about situations that are just so scary and too big to laugh at? Yeah, we can laugh about the mountain lion. We can laugh about the bear in the backyard. But what about this diagnosis, this medical diagnosis that I'm facing where the doctors are telling me there's less than 10% chance to survive? What about that, BJ?
Got 2 arms, got 2 legs still.
There you go. And maybe it's a fear that's also, for some of us, too big to turn and to face. So the first 2 ones are really not working for me, BJ. If I turn and face it, there it is. It's too big for me just to laugh away. Well, that brings us to the third answer, and that third answer is love. The third and final example of how to overcome fear is through love. In her book, Halfway Up the Mountain, Unity writer Martha Smock tells us fear is an emotion. And our emotions can sometimes seem to be so much stronger than our thoughts, that when fear takes hold of us, we seem unable to think it away. And there needs to be an emotion to replace fear. And the emotion that best replaces fear is what? Love. They teach that in the Course in Miracles, that there's only 2 primary emotions in any situation you find yourself.